And the Guilty is recorded live with the men and women of law enforcement. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, here's your host, Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so very much for tuning in to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty on this absolutely beautiful Wednesday afternoon. You know, Sheriff, if I wasn't here, I'd probably be home trying to mow the grass.
You know,
raking leaves, fluffing up stuff.
You know, last week we were here, we're sitting there talking about the snow that was going around outside. Telling Joe we didn't have no heat today. I don't think he's got no air conditioning.
Joe froze us to death last week.
But I know Joe's back here laughing. No, big change. Glad to be back, and obviously that's part of living in the South, especially in North Carolina.
Let me go ahead and segue that if you need some clothes, some gloves, some boots, or something to do your outdoor snow shoveling or outside yard stuff, and the good folks that bring you The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty is proudly presented by Harrison's down in Mooresville. We get a lot of our uniform supplies and things from them. Clicking?
Oh, sorry.
So from the job site, Lord have mercy, folks. I'm glad y'all with us today on Wednesday. From the job site to the rodeo to the backyard hammock, Harrison's has you covered. They're the Southeast leader in Carhartt and area workwear, and nobody has more in-stock work boots, and I can attest to that. My child wears size 16 boots, and they actually had some in stock for him, so I appreciate that. Harrison's can get you ready to go boot scooting from Western favorites like Cinch, Rock and Roll, Denim, and Wrangler. Visit their Mooresville location or shop online at harrisonsusa.com. Harrison's, your home for work, Western wear, and wow.
And you know, I've got one of the kids got big feet as well, and I'm gonna tell you, and even my belt stuff. I go to Harrison's. Not only that, the good selection stuff, and also they're pretty cool to deal with.
And if you've seen it, and it's one of those companies' products, and they don't have it in stock, tell them, and they'll order it for you.
The only thing I didn't see down, you can't buy a horse.
I guess if you asked them, maybe they could round one up for you.
Okay, well, listen, we're getting distracted. I know Bill's giving me a hard time about clicking my pen, but that just means we're comfortable here. So, but before we even start business, we've got to give a
big order of business to get to.
I know this is biggest of the big. It's a birthday wish out to Ellery and Piper Tyndall, 12. They're 12 years old today and twins, and they're listening to us. And Dow,
yes,
where are they listening from?
So they're either in Raleigh or somewhere around Johnston County right now.
See, that's cool. So,
Joe, that's how far you're getting out, buddy. Not only around the surrounding area of Iredell County, but man, we're down in Raleigh, Johnston County, Wake County.
We're almost
it's worldwide.
Worldwide. And you can listen to us on X, Facebook, YouTube, the WSIC website, and the WSIC app. If you have questions, listeners, please.
We got to quit getting.
Joe said OnlyFans, but I don't know why that was that way. But if you have,
we're trying to get the sheriff to start one.
That's what we're saying. Family show. We're not. No.
Well, the show is a family show, but there can be post-show content. You know.
Okay,
you were talking about your numbers when you walked in here. That's a way to get them up.
Well, I was also wishing 12-year-old twins a happy birthday, and we obviously got it straight for that. So,
well, I wasn't the one that brought it back up.
That's true.
I don't know. Somebody wrote it down over there.
But y'all, happy birthday. We appreciate you listening in.
Yes, absolutely. So, if our listeners are out there today and you have questions for us, please feel free to hit us up on Facebook. It's about the easiest way. Sheriff and I monitor there live while we're on the show. But for those of you that may be tuning in today that did not tune in last week, we have Captain Dow Hawkins with us. He is the supervisor of the Iredell County Sheriff's Office Narcotics Division. Sheriff Campbell supervised and worked for that unit many years ago prior to becoming sheriff, obviously. Then I had the great pleasure of your first-term sheriff being able to go and supervise that unit and the cool things that they do. And then Captain Hawkins took over and has had the unit ever since. And last week, Sheriff, we were telling our listeners that we had been to Washington to the National Sheriff's Association, and you sit on just a variety of boards and committees through the National Sheriff's Association as well as the North Carolina Sheriff's Association. And some of the information and intelligence reports that you receive obviously being on those committees, and with Dow working in narcotics, some of the HSI, or Homeland Security Investigations, DEA, North Carolina SBI that we work with. Dow, you get lots of good intelligence operational information, and those things help, Sheriff. And I know I don't want to steal your thunder because you have some numbers to talk about, but having those relationships, being able to work those type of investigations, and we're going to talk about the latest drug roundup here in just a little while, but to kind of be able to give the folks a behind the scenes view, how all those pieces and parts come together to make these great investigations that help make and keep Iredell County safer. Sheriff, I know that was one of your original campaign promises, and one of the things that you still mandate that we do as far as keeping our Iredell County safe. So any thoughts or comments on that?
I think we will have some numbers, a little bit, some of our 2024 numbers that we try to get ready for our annual report. But I think I got a lot of questions last week basically about the border. I think we've done a lot and how it impacts us here in Dow through our investigations. But I think, and obviously, if you want to leave us a comment, go to Facebook. We'll read them. We will try to answer them here. But I think the biggest thing a lot of people asked, what's the purpose of doing the roundups? And obviously, I want to preface it, we do them every quarter. And this is in addition to all the other cases, the federal cases, the bulk cash smuggling cases. And the reason is, in Dow, this is a good place. We've had this conversation before, and I think we even started that last week, to why we've argued doing these, because it builds up such a distrust amongst the drug dealers. And if we have a distrust, they don't know who to sell to. Therefore, the people that do sell and go to them don't steal and don't break in. And how we do put it on social media because we want to send a message to those that think about coming to Iredell and doing that. That it's very unpopular and unprofitable, and we just have a zero tolerance, and it reduces crime. And we'll get into the crime numbers here in a little bit.
And we'll make you Facebook stars.
We will.
And we argued. Maybe not argue. We had many, many discussions years ago about the thought process behind that. But, what people need to realize is the nexus that drugs has to other crimes, whether it's property crimes, person against person, violence, whatever it is, they're all directly tied together. And not that I wasn't a believer. Okay, so let's clear that out there.
Bill, I don't think he was a believer to start with.
It's not that I wasn't a believer.
I think I sat in on one or two of those meetings where I don't know, he might have not been a believer, but there was certainly some questionable tone.
He had not seen the light yet.
Not yet.
I have been basked in the light now, though, so I totally get it. But they have a direct correlation with one another, and once you start understanding that. And once and even not just me, but the guys in the office, once we understand that the work that we do has a significant impact on the decrease of other things that go on in the county, they need to understand, and as you guys do, they're an integral part of making sure that homes don't get broken into, that cars don't get broken into, that items don't get stolen and shipped off to the pawn shop.
And that's a great place to leave it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 2 minutes here on The Good, the Bad, the Guilty, and we'll take up this information and give you some stats and figures from Sheriff Campbell in the Iredell County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. Remember, you can comment on Facebook, X, YouTube, our website, and through the app. So we're back. Bill Hamby here to my right, and Dow Hawkins. And Dow, I think we were picked up. I forgot you was trying to argue some point that you had, or
No, I mean, it wasn't necessarily the argument of a point, more like
I
finally
kind of think it was.
finally being beaten into submission to understand that, there's a greater responsibility to what our unit does than sometimes I think a lot of people realize, maybe even more than the guys that work over there realize. I mean, the part that they play in the greater scope of things is something neat to see and something neat to be a part of.
If I could dovetail what you said, Dow, I know that when I was up there, and there again, I had the pleasure of supervising that unit for about 4 years. I always had that feeling of, how do you quantify what you don't know? So for all the drugs that we took off the streets and off interstates and out of Iredell County, how many people did we save from overdosing? How many domestics did we prevent by someone not being able to get high and want to assault someone? How many robberies did we stop? How many assaults did we stop from either someone wanting to rob the drug seller or someone needing to rob someone to get money to buy the drugs? That was always my thought process when we were out working those undercover deals and doing surveillance.
Mine goes to more now, more than ever. So it was like 2003 is when I went to the ACE team. And so I went to the ACE team for a while. I spent about 10 years on the interstate, worked on a federal task force, and then just kind of came back doing cases and made the way up from there. But seeing what we see now and not knowing what's there, and not to beat the fentanyl dog by no means, but we encountered something back last week where there was a very young individual that had possession of some things that we suspect were probably going to be pressed fentanyl pills. And you just don't know what you're getting now. And not that you knew 20 years ago,
right? But
more especially now. So the impact that it has on the crime stats overall, with the reduction of all the numbers, we look at it as, you don't know what you've just got a hold of, or you don't know what you're in possession of, but yet you still choose to do that.
And if I can steal your thunder for just a second, boss, one of the cool things I thought, and here again, not just because you're sitting here, but based on the intelligence that you had when you were major over all the investigations, and then when you became sheriff, you saw the need, and this was several years ago, when prescription pills were the rage, if you will, amongst the drug taking community. And Sheriff, you had enough forethought to take a narcotics detective and transition that into a diversion. And maybe you two guys can talk about diversion. And then once we saw, because in doubt, all three of us can see it.
When you guys explain diversion.
Right, but let me just make the bigger point, then I'll let you guys talk about that. But talking about how trends morph, and we go from pills to this to that. Well, now we have a hybrid investigator, there again, based on the trends, based on the information, where we had an individual who was was on our homicide investigative team, a seasoned investigator who was attached to the narcotics division to start working some of these overdose deaths. So it's like you get to intel, and we're able to make adjustments to the sheriff's office to put people and policies and monies in place to be able to investigate kind of the thing that we see coming.
Well, I think the big thing, the tide ebbs and flows. I mean, we do. Back when we was on patrol, we was working interstate. Not that we said we trained that way. But either way, we at that time, methamphetamine, we hadn't seen it. We thought we was something if we found meth. Heroin, we never seen heroin a lot because it comes and goes. But, I can remember, the big thing with us was don't open coolers because of anhydrous ammonia and the tweakers and a lot of that stuff with methamphetamine.
Cooking crystal meth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we
shake and bake.
Now it's so much cheaper because of the borders, which go back to what we talked about last week, that you can buy it better than you can manufacture it yourself.
I mean, well, think about this. So, back in the times that you're talking about, we had a detective that was basically meth lab certified. So they had, the SCBA or the scuba apparatus and the big suit that they would go in, and they could help dismantle that and get rid of all the product that they used to cook it with. So it transitioned from that. Border meth, or south of the border meth, got so cheap that instead of going out here and buying your Sudafed packs at CVS and your dye and all the other stuff that you need to make that. I don't know what all it is, but all the stuff that you need to make it. It was much cheaper to buy crystal meth that came from somewhere other than North Carolina.
And I think some of that goes back to legislative people like the North Carolina Sheriff Association, North Carolina Chiefs of Police, legislators, sheriffs, chiefs of police, working with legislators, screaming back when we had, and I'll call it shake and bake or meth that was being made locally.
Remember the lithium batteries and all that stuff?
It's like, okay, how do we cut the head off the snake? Well, through efforts from the Sheriff Association, I know you were leading in that, the pseudoephedrine thing, where now if you go buy pseudoephedrine, you have to give an ID and you can only get so much at a time. So there's more ways to fight the drug battle, at least on our level, than doing the undercover ops. It's talking to the doctors, it's talking to the pharmaceuticals, it's working with your legislators. So it was kind of a holistic approach to stop that particular aspect.
And the problem is we're sort of on the end of it. You know, it's manufactured. There's money there. It's smuggled across the border. There's money there. Then it's to the wholesaler in the states. Then it's distributed out to your source cities. Your source cities deliver it back to your communities. And your communities is where most of your addicts are, your break-ins, your violent crime, who is, if you cut the head off of that snake anywhere, and if we make it uncomfortable dealers here, then the rest of that downstream from us stops.
Illicit or illegal narcotics is as big of an economic need to some as tennis shoes.
It is.
And I mean that by prices go up, prices go down. Supply and demand, economics. There's a lot in reserve, there's none in reserve. And, you know, kind of going back to what you were talking about when you were talking about the Sheriff's Association and the Chief of Police and the legislators doing, you know, all that they were doing with the meth and so forth. When you talk about Detective Wyatt that come from CID over to us in the hybrid investigations, you know, he's done quite a few death by distribution cases, and, you know, we're getting convictions for those things. And I'm sure the Sheriff's Association and the legislators had a lot to do with writing that law for law enforcement to be able to prosecute that. I know there was an amendment to it
Well,
last
you were invited down to talk to the AG at the time of what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, who's now the governor.
Who is now the governor.
Yep.
That's correct.
And, you know, they rewrote the law to kind of, you know, remove this sale aspect to it, you know, and kind of put it something along the lines of, you know, provide or give to or barter or trade. And, you know, that in itself is a deterrent, because when we first got that investigator and we first started doing those cases, we would see somewhere between, say, 12 and 20, 22 overdose cases a year that Detective Wyatt was getting to investigate. You know, some went nowhere, some went somewhere. You know, I think last year we only did 8.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the diversion. What diversion initially was the pills and stuff. So we've kept really the job title the same, but we've changed the job description to investigate overdose deaths, because the fentanyl, we started seeing the increase, we started seeing the deaths, and the only way that we can stop it, we're obviously not there when it happens, but if we can stop the dealer and future dealers knowing that we're going to prosecute them on these death by distribution cases, obviously it's a deterrent for them.
Yeah, and you know, and he's got a pretty demanding job, because we ask of him not just to do those. And when he gets one, he stops everything else and he focuses on that. And there's some roadblocks that he may have to fight through and battle through with, like whether it's the medical examiner's office or autopsies or things like that.
Working with the district attorney's office.
Working with the DA's office.
You know,
but Detective Wyatt, you know, he also is responsible for carrying a standard caseload.
well, you remember in the day that really, even back in my time, the only qualification work was narcotics is, could you grow a beard
Yeah.
and keep your shirt untucked? That's all it was. And I don't even know if Danny can do either one. I mean,
I was doing that in high
Detective
school.
White. Yeah, I know. Growing a beard, that's what I'm talking about. I didn't know if he's listening to the show, but all the investigators are very skilled in what they do. They understand to put the cases. But one group we have not give a shout out, which makes your narcotics, is our road, because our road patrol is out here getting the complaints for possible drug houses, suspicious activity, making the traffic stops.
Back on top of that, the road and ACE combined.
And the ACE team, I was going to get to the ACE team, you're right. And all that funnels through y'all. So it really has to, we have worked, or all of us, or all of y'all and them, have worked hard to have sort of like a well-oiled machine. And now, and I know we've got about 2 minutes, and this really wasn't the time, but we'll come back. It's a good way to sort of end up. But in 2024, here's our crime rates. Now, you got to remember, Iredell's probably over 200-some thousand.
About 208,000.
Obviously, our crime rates in the last 10 years went down almost 53% overall. Some of our clearance rates are upwards in the 70s and 80s. But just last year, in 2024, our homicides was down 33%. Not that we have a lot. Just remember, 200,000 person county. Our rape cases down 43%. Our aggravated assaults down 8%. Our burglary, breaking in there, and larceny, which is everybody's homes and business, is down 10%. Larceny thefts down 6%. Auto theft, just because a lot of it's the flock system being able to track it, is down over 30%. And arson, which we never had a real big problem with it, but still just to stand true to the numbers, a 28% reduction.
I mean, math doesn't lie, does it?
No. And we've said here, 70-some% of the cases are tied to narcotics. There's a lot of other reasons, but obviously us focusing on that side of it. And listen, you got to remember, we got to be involved with kids. Most of your offenders are 17 to 26. If we can keep those, we was talking last night to a guy, is basically our first teen academy and athletic league now is 10. Can you believe it's been 10 years?
10
So
years.
those girls, let's say the teen, they start at 13 at the earliest. They're now 23. Some of the teen academies, they're now in their early 20s. SROs in the school being basically a resource for these kids, those are paying huge dividends, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I don't see anything other than it.
So, well, we'll hit it. We've got about 20 seconds as of right now.
Well, I think you've got also one of the components we haven't talked about, and I'd like to talk about when we come back, is community involvement and how we are involved with the community through outreach programs, SROs, and things of that
And we'll get
nature.
a little bit on task forces when we do them right and how they work. So,
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. Thank you so much for listening today.
should do that. 3 episodes, joke of the day.
Sure is the joke.
I
We're
forgot,
live.
well, I forgot to look at him while we go.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. Joe, I wish that our viewers could watch the in between the segment during the commercial breaks. That's some of the best. That's some of the best radio today. Get your microphone fixed. There you go.
You know, I keep telling you guys, we can just keep the microphones on, keep the camera on you, and just never stop.
I don't know. We better
think-
not. We better be
See,
I
careful.
think
but
our
you guys are
listeners
scared
need-
of that.
I think our
That's
listeners
the
need that
thing.
break.
But you know what? We need an audience. If people come over here, could you set some chairs out here?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Wow, in studio listening.
You have an audience
Unique.
right
We
here.
can have a sign that says "When applause and
Yeah.
when not to."
Yeah.
Am I not here? Am I not an audience member?
Well, you're more of the show. You're like that.
Oh, I don't think I'm the show.
Well, no, but you're part of the show. You're part of the show family.
Hey, listen, on break, he's over there trying to get us a dual sponsorship. We like Harrison's, and
We do like Harrison's.
I do my best.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again, Shirley, for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. Miss Sissy Odalita, thank you so much for listening, ma'am. We appreciate your devotion to the show. And if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us on X, on Facebook, WSIC News on Facebook, the YouTube channel, WSIC.com, and the WSIC News app. So, Sheriff, we were talking before we went to break about the various avenues that we take. And I kind of want to segue in sort of to the roundup because we did catch a lot of folks and we want to make several people famous here. But, you know, now, and I know you get inundated with emails forwarded from the sheriff and myself all hours of the day and night because what our listeners need to know
Saturdays, Sundays.
through our app.
okay, hold on.
But it's true
During
because our
church.
listeners give us this information. Our community members give us the information, but it's through our app, it's through our Facebook page, and it's through our website where folks can, if they're having issues or problems, concerns, or if they think there's drug activity, they can send us the information. And of course, anytime I see it, I'm passing it to
And
you.
I'm sending it to
and,
you.
And Lieutenant Stone, who supervises the ACE team. And out of those tips, the vast majority turn out to be something valid or something we can take action on, and it turns into being able to help these drug roundup investigations.
It does. Before we were talking, did you sense that little bit of frustration when we're talking about sending?
I did.
Go ahead, because I know you want to say something.
I want to say that sometimes I get them from the sheriff at 11 p.m. at night, and I go to bed at 9:15 because I get up at 4 a.m. So I make sure as soon as I get up in the morning, I respond
You do?
to it.
Yeah. And when you turn your
Please.
phone on, it's bling, 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 bling.
No, the phone never turns off. But no, let's go back to these.
But
to
we're
these.
real time. If you send it, somebody's going to get it, and we're going to send it on.
Yeah,
true. That is
if
true.
you send it, somebody's going to get it, and you know. We would like for every one of them to come through with a contact number or email. We would love that because
And this is one, and you, Sheriff, you and I have had this conversation before. And for our listeners who are using the app and all the other ways to contact us, if there is a crime or if there is an action going on at that moment, that is the time to call 911 or
Correct.
878-3100
Correct.
and have a deputy respond. If something is happening right then that it needs to be action taken, please don't email us. Yes, we'll take in information and we'll get it, but if they need to have immediate response, that's when you need to call the deputies. That's when you need to call 911 and have someone come out and address that situation instantly.
And you can get the app on Google Play, Apple Store, everywhere.
Google
it's free.
Play,
It
App
don't-
Store, yes, sir.
You can send us information. You get concealed carry permits, all your gun stuff,
Jail
You can-
search.
and jail search. You can find out if your neighbor's a sex offender,
And you
or
know-
if they're in jail.
it's a great thing. And like I said, we would like for all the complaints to come with somebody to contact either by phone or by email. You know, if you send one in, whoever's listening, if you send one in and it's you check the box to be anonymous, not to put a name or return email or phone number or anything like that, those get looked at exactly the same. You know, we may not be able to take them quite as far because we may not be able to gather all the required information. You know, I understand, and the listeners should understand, if you include your name or a contact information in that, we'll reach out to you. We'll gather all the information that we can. You know, there may come a time that we have to disclose that. You know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But if you want to send in a tip anonymously and it's really good information, and you send it through the app and you don't hear that anything's been done, please call us. Call the office, ask for me. You don't have to
we
leave
may be working that case and
exactly.
they may not know.
And you not know, but you can ask for me. You can block your number. You don't have to provide a name, and you may be able to fill in some of the blanks on what we're doing without disclosing who you are.
And I believe. Well, let me just put it this way, and I'll try to hide some folks so folks may not know who I'm talking about. I remember a case not too long ago where we got a lot of information about a particular location, and due to the nature of the investigation, you guys had to be careful because it was limited in, limited out. But whenever you guys did the search warrant and it was over, you had neighbors, and Sheriff, I think you went out to where the warrant was, and you had neighbors coming up going,
Me and Dad, we walked down
thank
the
you so
street.
much for coming.
I talked
and
to
one
her.
of the comments were, we didn't think y'all were doing anything. That's the beautiful nature of an undercover operation. It shouldn't be seen.
To this day. I talk to her to this day. If she has an issue in that particular area or a concern, she calls my cell phone.
But they saw action taken
I'm
on
gonna
their
tell you
information.
that we come, and obviously that's very that is so appreciated from us. But we come up and search one because I went out there that morning. We're walking back up, and the neighbors come out and start clapping.
Yes, that's what I'm talking
I mean
about.
that's a
So just because you send us information doesn't, and you don't see instantaneous results, does not mean we're not working on it. It's sometimes these investigations take a little time to do surveillance on. Sometimes they take a little bit to kind of to do what we need to do to make a good case.
Here's you a great plug. So we did one on Friday. So nothing's kind of been said about it. You guys got it.
I didn't know
today.
y'all worked on Friday.
Yeah, we work on Fridays. I don't work a bunch on Fridays, but we work on Fridays. So we did one last Friday. We got an intern at the office, a criminal justice intern from ASU. So he was spending that week with us. He was with ASUM, with ISUM, and then he come to us. Just so happened that Friday we were going to do a search warrant. So when we're done, everyone's leaving, kind of, the cars are leaving the house. The next door neighbor is standing outside at the end of their driveway. Well, what do? Pull in, roll the window down. How you doing? What do you think we got? Thank you. We didn't know you guys were doing anything on this. We appreciate it. Hey, let me run get my wife. I want you to talk to her.
Yeah.
So he runs, he gets her, and it's the same thing. And I told him, we're aware. And just because we're aware doesn't mean we're going to come to the area and knock on every door and say, hey, we're aware this is going on. If we get it, we're going to thoroughly look at it. If there's anything to it, we're going to take action. But the more information you can give us, the better. Timmy on Short Street in a green pickup truck is doing X activity. I mean, is Timmy there at 8 a.m? Is he there at midnight?
Right.
We need more. We need more than that. So anything that you can provide to us to help us do our job, we'd greatly appreciate.
Well, and we've got the app. We've got Facebook. You can send it through there. We the ICSO info. The trying to remember what all. I mean, you can do it the old-fashioned way. Just call us and leave a voicemail. We will call you back.
If you don't want to have your identity revealed, you can block your number. Everyone can block a number now. You can call the office. You can transfer it directly to me. You can leave a voicemail on my phone. I can call you. Maybe I'm sitting at the desk when you call and I answer the phone and you say, hey, I don't want my name to be involved in this, but I'm going to give you play-by-play of what's going on. In an ideal situation, that's how every one of these complaints would go.
And how many of these? Look how many of the roundup. Just these roundups, and we can talk about on our last segment here a little bit, and we'll wrap it up with whatever else. But how many of those we got was generated out of the public's giving us information, and we followed up, and with we couldn't do it without the public.
It may not, the person that's arrested may not be directly contributed or attributed to that original email or phone call or complaint, but whoever we got prior to that, whoever they called or emailed us about, then that person may have turned into this person, may have turned into that person, and we just kind of work up the chain as it goes.
And sometimes it may not be drugs. We get a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, and we understand that sending
Absolutely.
our marked cars, first of all, presence is the number one deterrent. So any officer with a marked car, detectives, the criminals don't like sitting around with us. So they see us in the neighborhood, a lot like checking stations, or what people used to call a license check. It's not that. It's make sure people in the community see us out there along, good guys and bad guys.
They don't like The criminals don't like seeing us in, like you said, in the areas that we need to be in. But boy, don't we like parking that patrol car in their yard at, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon with a bunch of us, down there
Or a sign that says this search warrant brought to you by the Iredell County Sheriff's
We
Office.
need to get some of those signs.
or this property seized by the Iredell County Sheriff's Office.
Absolutely.
And you guys know where I'm, going with that on some things that we're working on. But, we want those cars to be parked at that, at the house that's causing a problem. We want the Bearcat or the CERT team to be out in the front yard of the house that's causing that neighborhood a problem, because as much as it's a deterrent to put them on Facebook and put them on the app, when the community sees that Bearcat and those guys in that front yard, that puts the word out there just as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back for our final segment in about 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Joe, I appreciate you, buddy. You made my day. It's not a week unless I hear my Alfred Hitchcock music. I appreciate that. Well, Sheriff, it's our last segment. Dow, thank you so much for taking your time today. Sheriff, it's been a pleasure to be here again with you today. So it seems like we'll go 3 or 4 weeks and not be here, and then we'll be here for 3 or 4 weeks in a row.
It's busy. Wednesdays are tough sometimes.
Wednesdays are tough. But ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for tuning in our last segment. Here again, any questions, comments, or concerns for Sheriff Campbell or about drugs or things in your neighborhood, hit us on X, hit us on Facebook, YouTube, the WSIC website, and the WSIC News app. And while we were sitting here, Sheriff, got information on a case that we had that we were talking about prior to the radio. It's been cleared. So see, synergy, baby.
That's a good
It's
thing.
a good thing.
Good thing.
But, now going back to what you were talking about, where the community gives us information. If the community didn't trust us, if the community didn't see results, if the community didn't know that they could talk to their officers,
They lose faith.
they lose faith, and they're just not going to call. Because you do have to take a huge leap of faith that if I live in a neighborhood or I live next to someone or there's some criminal activity going on in my neighborhood, I've got to have enough faith in these law enforcement officers that I'm speaking to do their job, to do it correctly, to take care of my neighborhood and to keep me safe.
100%.
And I think we have a track record par excellence over years and years and hundreds of informants and thousands of tips that we get the job done. And I think with our crime stats and our reputation within the community, within the judicial district, within HSI and the federal partners that we have, Iredell County Sheriff's Office cases are as solid as they can be.
They are. And, and I think you'll like this. You can't forget the guys and the girls that are out there every day.
Absolutely.
In uniform, in that marked car, engaging with people that are out there, and, knowing the people in the area that they work. They're more likely to get information passed on to them just by the relationships that they make while they work. The 14 days a month that they work, you just don't know what we can do with it, and you just don't know how valuable it is once it's passed on to them.
One of the best tips I ever received that ended up, the individual was great, and I ended up clearing a bunch of break-ins back when I was working property crime many years ago, was at a pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
Sitting there at a Saturday morning at a pancake breakfast with some deputies, and we're out there. Sheriff Campbell, I think you were there as major, and we were talking, and a sweet little lady come up. She said, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Yes, ma'am," and she give it. And we were able to clear up several break-ins in the area. So being out amongst the people, with the people, the SROs, the pancake breakfasts, the athletic league, all of our outreaches.
Citizens Academy.
Citizens
Friends
Academy.
talk to friends, and we've always said that. But I will say this. Now, we need to have a show. We need to get an older officer. I ain't going to say who that'd be. And a younger one.
Well, Danny's works part-time.
I know, Danny. But, we really need to gouge these young ones because they're going to say, well, we have a lot hard, we're a lot busier, we're a lot this more. I'm telling you, this is a whole segment. We didn't even have cell phones.
Go back.
Here it goes. Go ahead.
No, go back to the office, and I was having a conversation with Major Troy Miller this morning. Troy used to work up there
Troy's
with us.
one of those
back in the
school
day.
ones, yeah.
And he and I were talking about something, and we kind of touched on this, and I'm like, it's just not like it used to be. Like, I remember, watch this, you'll remember this. Remember Four Corners?
I remember Four Corners. I was Four Corners.
Okay, I was Four Corners. People don't think about that.
And anybody that don't know, Four Corners is when we worked the whole county, and I-40 and I-77 split it. So everything left, everything right, upper, and then lower. So you had 4 deputies and supervisors, and that serviced the entire county.
And that
How
service
about calling dispatch on a payphone?
We did that. Are you clear 3-digit now?
Are you clear 3 digits so you could go to a
Probably
payphone
gonna
dial
get in trouble,
911 and
but-
save a quarter?
Yeah, call 911
You know
and
what?
save a
I
quarter.
shouldn't even have brought this is a whole show. But either way, but yeah, back when you was on the road, when I checked on a weekend, and I'm sure y'all too, I never seen another deputy on a whole weekend. But when you'd get a call, if you didn't have it on the radio, or if your radio wasn't in service, they'd say you would ask, they'd say, "Are you clear 3-digit?" What that meant was go to a payphone and you could call 911 and they could connect you. That's otherwise you had to carry around a pocket of change, and just half of them the buttons wouldn't work, and that was
If you did that, if you take somebody like the three of us, Troy, Joel, Julie, the ones that have been there, Jason, the ones that have been there an exceptionally long time, and then take 4 or 5 that's got say 3 to 6 years worth of experience on, and let them hear the stories that we could tell. Not necessarily the things that we got away with, because we were all angels, but the thing
we were lucky.
Yep.
and we were lucky.
It wasn't cameras, but anyway.
But if you answered a call for service back then and the same call for service now, it's 2 totally separate things. The same way with CID cases, or the same way with drug cases. The same way that if you remember, I guess it was Lieutenant Ramsey at one point in time.
Absolutely.
Or even Lieutenant or Captain Craven way back in the day. If you talk about, or listen to them talk about how they would work a drug case in whatever year that was, and I
75,
was
76.
But I already hear that now. I'd be like,
They walk to school uphill both ways, yeah.
I'd be like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do it like that? I mean,
But you think the patrol cars. We had okay, worst night to work was Christmas Eve because you could not find a channel on the FM or AM that's not playing
Christmas music.
Rudolph Christmas. Now they've got Exxon. They plug their phone in. They can listen, or Exxon, good gracious, Amazon, XM radio, everything you can run right through the cars. You know, when
Well, that's because you give us good equipment.
well, yeah, but it basically comes standard too. But you know, back in the day when we had off-duty work, you know, you went to the library to check out books to read some past time. Now it's on the phones.
I watch Hulu on my phone. Not that I do off-duty work, but I mean, if I did, I'd watch Hulu on my phone.
Yeah, that's the reason you need glasses because you're watching. Oh, you're talking about if you would have had it.
Yeah, I'm talking about now.
Oh, no, I don't watch it on my phone. But
All right, you two.
Okay,
let's
that's
come
a
back
whole
from
nother
let's
show.
come back from memory lane.
I know we're gonna have to bring some of those. So anyway, yeah, Bill, we've got a lot of other things coming up.
Yep. So if you do want, and we've somehow let time get away from us today, but I think it's been proper and great information. But if you want to see some of the folks that have been arrested and that are still wanted in our latest roundup, please go to Iredell County Sheriff's Office Facebook page, and you will see our latest batch of 28 suspects charged with a myriad of drug felonies. And one thing that I do want to say to the lovely lady that I saw at Food Line the other day, who decided she wanted to tell me why we thought we were letting people out on low bonds. We're not the magistrates. The magistrates set bonds. They're an independent judicial official. It has no bearing from the Iredell County Sheriff's Office whatsoever. So thank you, ma'am, for venting on me for something I had.
And what are bonds
nothing
used
to do
for?
with.
It's to protect it's to ensure your time in court and to protect the community from those committing those types of crimes. So
That's right.
Yep.
So if you want to learn more about the Iredell County Sheriff's Office and how Sheriff Campbell and Dow and myself use the old 3-digit 911 phone and want to see
we
our
sort
new
of got
patrol
off the
cars,
subject.
please come take advantage to be one of the members of our Citizens Academy. We're up to over 20 registered participants now. We'd love to have you. It will start March 4th. From 6 o'clock to roughly 8 o'clock. There will be some nights where it'll be a little bit longer, probably close to 9 o'clock. But you will have fun. I promise you. Every year it gets bigger and better, faster. You'll do a lot of hands-on stuff. First night's basically kind of a 30,000-foot view of the sheriff's office, and we do sit down and you do talk a little bit to learn more about the sheriff's office. And then every night after that, you are up, moving around, doing stuff, hands-on, talking to our deputies, touring our detention center, canine demos. You get to see behind the scenes of the sheriff's office.
And Dow, I think you teach one of the nights, don't you?
I do.
Well, Bill, we speak too, but Dow, you do a
Yeah, I'm
class
there.
on what's yours on the undercover narcotics? meth?
Yeah, and undercover narcotics,
Drugs.
ACE, ICE, just that division there.
And there again, one of the most fun nights that we've heard so far. Well, there's 3 nights. One, they love the detention center tour. They love shooting at the range, and they love riding the boat. So if you take part with us, we can guarantee that those 3 things will happen. Call us at the Sheriff's Office, 878-3180. Ask for Sheriff Campbell, myself, or Matt Burleson. Or go to our Facebook page, Iredell County Sheriff on Facebook, and register through the QR code there. We'd love to have you. Folks, if you want to see just another cool way that the Iredell County Sheriff's Office integrates in the community, especially with our youth, our Sheriff's Athletic League will be starting shortly. It will be on Saturdays. All the volleyball games will be held at Statesville High School. Sheriff, I know you've worked with Dr. James from the Iredell Statesville School System, and we couldn't do it without him.
No, they help us with time, and we don't compete with the regular school sports inside. So it's something to see. 34 teams, I think we had last year.
Over 400 participants.
That's a lot of youngins.
400 youth from all across Iredell County will be playing volleyball. It is free. It's paid for by the Sheriff's Office through some JAG grants and some other donations. And if you want to come out and see a lot of our deputies, SROs, coach and referee and do a lot of the management behind the scenes, but just come out one Saturday morning and have a great time. And Sheriff, I know you've always thrown out the challenge to other elected officials to come.
Come out and watch it. We won't say we want to be involved. This is the perfect way to do it. Dow, I thought you was going to say something.
I was a little
Will
shocked.
you volunteer to coach?
No. I was a little shocked that there was 400.
It has
Right
grown
at it,
every
yep.
year. We would have had 400 the year we had COVID, but obviously COVID hit us out. So we the last couple of years, the year after COVID, it declined a little bit, but through getting the word out and putting on a quality program, we've bumped that attendance.
We're
up.
probably going to have to sweet talk Jeff James, Superintendent James, because we are probably going to need another school on Saturday.
I was getting ready to say now, not that I would encourage the detectives to come just because I don't want their face out there and, just don't want them out there and being seen in something like that in the capacity in which they work. But 400 at one time at the same school?
No, it usually runs to 8 to 5.
It's from 8 to 5, so it's staggered, and the teams are put in. It's co-ed, and it's age. So you have varsity and JV. But we need to get a couple of those coaches and participants to come just in our final few moments here. So that may be another show for us, Sheriff. Probably halfway through season, we'll bring some of the coaches and players in. But Joe, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for WSIC. Thank you to Harrison's for sponsoring the show. Sheriff?
Thanks to everybody that listens, takes time to give us information, and the support we get across this county. We have really got it very lucky to live here in Iredell.
Absolutely.
And I was just looking, Ellery and Piper were tickled to death that you wished them a happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday to Ellery and Piper. 12 years old, man.
12 years
Big
young.
birthday.
Don't you wish we were 12 again?
Hey, you can have them play volleyball.
Ladies
I
and
don't
gentlemen,
think they
thank you
can
so
make
much
that
for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty on WSIC. Have a wonderful week.